And then I'd also gotten a video of someone running up with it and just hoisting it up, and I was like, "That's my shield. This
There
is
you go.
great."
Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental. From my apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, I'm Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Kalen Carr, David Goss, Matt Doyle. Join me, fellas, in a chant that we've all heard and probably imitated from time to time. Doop, 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 doop. Nobody's gonna join me, and now I'm sort of by myself. Okay, cool. That was a gambit that didn't work. Awkward, real awkward. Cool.
No, it's not awkward. We're jazzed
Great.
for you. You're celebrating. You've
I'm-
always been
I'm
a
happy.
big Doop guy.
Hey, I'm happy about it. How could you not be happy about it? A team with a plan, a team that plays young Americans, a team that has, let's just be honest, endured some dark days that we have been around for. I mean, look, Kalen, you and I and Dave were all at that last U.S. Open Cup. They didn't win that one. They didn't win the two before it. They have now won their first trophy on Decision Day presented by AT&T. They are the Supporters Shield winners for 2020. Get your asterisk talk out of here. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It cheapens their accomplishment. Do not say it on this show. Other people might, but I will not allow it in these hallowed halls. Somebody else take over here, man. I'm excited, but I feel like Doyle's just there stroking his cat. Like, are you done? Like, what is in you?
I'm enjoying this. Baby girl, she's always been a big Union fan. You could see it in her eyes right there. It was a really, I don't know, it felt like a meaningful moment to see the way this team celebrated on the field. The pure joy for a team that has made year over year. They've just made steady progress. And at the beginning of the year, I doubted that they were going to be up there with the likes of a Seattle or Toronto, and they just kept getting better. And you said, Wiebe, that like it's the young Americans, but it's also going out and finding guys like Jose Martinez or Kai Wagner, who other teams, whether it's in South America or Europe or here in MLS, other teams have overlooked those guys. And they've come to the Union and they've improved as individuals and they've improved as a team. And it's awesome to see. To me, it's kind of more fun to watch than teams going out and just spending boatloads of cash and buying the best players possible. This makes it more interesting. And on top of that, they play an attractive style of soccer. They play a really great brand of soccer. So to see it all come together like that, the Union, like you said, Wiebe, no asterisks here. Absolutely deserving of the Supporters Shield during the most trying year any of us have ever been through. And certainly in any MLS soccer, any MLS team has been through. So I'm genuinely happy for them, and I'm genuinely happy for Philly fans.
You might have noticed. Go ahead.
The asterisk thing, I mean, it's like the thing, if it was sort of just like a random fluke team that ended up winning the Supporters Shield, then I think that would actually maybe hold a little bit more water, that argument. But the fact that they have just consistently, like you said, year after year gotten just a step better is really hard to do. I mean, look at our league. The yo-yoing is incredible in MLS, across MLS. So when you see a club that is really down at the bottom and then begin to go up and up and up and up and then get to the point where they, I think we're pretty uniquely positioned for this year as well because of the depth, because of the roster that they've built and the sort of mix of young players as well as these international players and then just the right amount of experience. But I thought it was sort of fitting that even on their last day, they had to go with an academy player who was sitting in this crowd, not too long ago. And that he would be one of the sort of central figures to step in. You thought like, okay, well, the depth it continues to be tested. And then you're thinking the one position that would never change would be Blake at least. And then suddenly that even was tested in 2020 and Freeze did a great job. I thought that sort of early moment where he kind of had everything in the game, where he had that early one where he gets a hold of it, then he gets like smashed, just kind of like welcome to the match. And he was steady. And the rest of the team, I think, even through a little bit of nervous moments, maybe early on, you just felt like eventually that was going to turn for them. They're just so much more dynamic, quick. They have a little extra step in them, and they have all year. So it was, I think for me personally, just having played with Jim in Chicago for years and just knowing him as a guy, to see his development as a manager, to see the way he's been able to kind of shepherd, and I have a lot of friends on the team, so to see how the way he stepped in to kind of shepherd this team through these unique challenges this year, I mean, hats off, man. I mean, it was really, really awesome to see.
Nice little transition there. You set me up. Jim Curtin is on today's show, and he's always one of the best interviews that we have on Extratime. So please, 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 if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, just skip to Jim. I mean, he hits everything. Doyle, you were throwing out on Twitter, this is one of the all-timers. Mm-hmm. He's talking U.S. winning the World Cup potentially in 2026. He's talking about his own ambitions. He's talking about how he kind of dislikes dogs. Like, you have every little bit across the spectrum, but he always is honest. He always has personality. We are also going to talk to one Jeremy Sullivan. Who is Jeremy Sullivan, you ask? Well,
Captain America.
Nobody had any idea before today. He is the real life Chris Evans, although Chris Evans is real, so that's
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, whatever it is. I don't know the names. Doyle could maybe like educate me on all this. But this morning I woke up and I was looking at all the photos and I was thinking, like, what is this supporter shield that the Union are holding aloft, that they're parading around Subaru Park? It looks like somebody just like hit pause and drew it in. Like, it almost looks like anime. It pops like that, just like straight out. And I finally went and just said, you know what, I'm going to find out what the story it is. So if you don't know this story, I have a Twitter thread on it that you could go and retweet to make it more viral. But the Captain America shield that Jeremy Sullivan had, and Jeremy Sullivan is the web manager's fiance's sister's boyfriend at the Philadelphia Union. He had this just sitting around. The web manager's fiance's sister's boyfriend. I mean, there's a lot of links here. Yeah. Well,
Trust me, he exists. Believe
yeah,
me.
Exactly. Yeah, awesome guy. You'd never believe. He's so cool. Anyway, he was from Medford. He's Medford, Pennsylvania. And they hit him up and they said, "Hey, do you have a shield?" He said, "I do." It's in Jersey. It's oh my god, I screwed that up.
Man.
I screwed it up. It's Brendan Aronson's hometown.
Yeah.
This is how nutty this story is. I wrote it and I can't even relate it. Anyway, the guy has a trophy, a supporter shield, a Captain America shield.
There you go.
I'm flustered now. And they call him up and they say, hey, can we use it? And they were about to get a 16-inch pizza pan, like vinyl stickered, and that's what they were going to do for the supporter shield because the shield was not going to get to Philly from LA in time. They're checking the tracking numbers like, this isn't going to happen. What are we going to do? We might win this. We have to celebrate with something. They get this shield. He's not a sports fan. He's not a Union fan. They slap the sticker on it, and there you have the crowning moment for this club, this team, lifted above their heads, looking like a cartoon. I mean, it's one of the most ridiculous, awesome things about Major League Soccer. One, the supporter shield. Two, that this sort of thing would happen. Three, that it just sort of feels normal to all of us.
Yeah.
Like, this is our culture, and that's the beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, as some people have said, like, oh, would a top 5 league, would the NBA be down with something like this? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's ours.
Yeah, and the fact that other leagues are maybe a little stodgier about fan involvement and stuff like that, I think that's to their discredit. I think it's to their great credit and the fans' great credit that they made the supporter shield real 23 years ago, and that it has only grown in stature, and that at the same time there are still moments for just ridiculous celebration and ridiculous stories. Like the man has a cosplay Captain America shield with a 150-pound force magnet on it, and you throw a vinyl sticker on that, and that's what the Union were celebrating.
I think they like peel it off.
Yeah. I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
They can't peel it off, by the way. And when they were doing this, they told me that the heat guns that they were using to apply, the magnet was so powerful that the heat guns were flying out of their hands and sticking to the magnet. That's how powerful this thing is. And by the way, we're talking about infamy and how it'll go down all time. Jordan Buchholz, who is the executive director of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, just quote tweeted this thing and said, let's get this into the Soccer Hall of Fame. This might have gone from a guy in Medford, New Jersey's like closet, his precious, the thing that he loves, into the Soccer Hall of Fame in this country. What an incredible thing. All right, it is time now for our most special, most incredible, most bizarre AT&T 5G call to the field of the entire 2020 MLS season. We are talking to Jeremy Sullivan. You saw his Captain America shield wrapped in vinyl, looking like an anime supporter shield, being hoisted above the Philadelphia Union's heads on Sunday evening.
Soccer royalty.
History of Philly. You made this happen, Jeremy. You made this happen. Thank you. Thank you. How did it happen?
I had one day gotten a call from my girlfriend's sister's soon-to-be fiance, married. They were like, "Hey, I know that you have a Captain America shield," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Do you need it?" And he's like, "That would be awesome if we could use it. Like, that would be great. Like, do you happen to have any of the dimensions? Is it free? Is it available?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I haven't used it in a minute." So he was like, "It's super important. We'll take great care of it, and you won't have to worry about it." So I was like, "Yeah, go for it. If you come by, take it. Do whatever you guys need to it. I do not mind. Heck, if it breaks, I still don't mind."
Wow.
How is it going to break, though? I'm told that this thing has an 150-pound force magnet on the back. I mean, it's like 30 pounds. It's legit. People might think, oh, Halloween costume, Captain America. No, man. You are like the real deal, Captain America.
Yeah, so on the back of it, it has a 150-pound magnet on it that attaches to a harness that I usually have on my back, which has another magnet there. So like if I go to throw it on my back, it'll stay and it won't come off. I could move it any way I need to, and it's not going anywhere.
Wait, are they going to get the supporter shield sticker part off at any point, or is this now permanently your shield?
I told them that if they wanted to leave it on, they could.
That is generous.
I don't mind.
So now look, you're from Medford, right? You're from Brendan Aronson's hometown. Did you know the Aronson family? Are you a Union fan? Are you a sports fan?
I was. I've kind of fallen out. So I actually, when this whole thing, I had no clue what it was like really going to be used for until after I'd already said yes. I had zero clue. And
but now you're getting front row season tickets all of next year for free, right?
Right? I wish. That'd be great.
Hey, we're starting it now. We'll put the pressure on.
Yeah.
The PR campaign happens right now. When you saw the shield in its new iteration, what did you think when you saw it being hoisted above the players' heads? When you saw them parading it around? I mean, you're like the kind of like one run removed from being the star of the show here.
Right. I as soon as I saw it, I even saw like one of the pictures that I'd gotten from it. And I was like, that looks fantastic. That is so cool. And then I'd also gotten a video of someone running up with it and just hoisting it up. And I was like, that's my shield. This is great.
Now let me ask you this. Would Steve Rogers approve of the Philadelphia Union and the way they've gone about this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Easily, 100%. No doubt.
This is a shield made in America, literally and figuratively, via the Academy of the Philadelphia Union. Did you see the photo though? And I'm not sure anybody has ever been this close to your shield or snuggled it necessarily. Of Kai Wagner in bed holding onto this thing. I mean, you're going to get this thing back, and it's going to have been in some intimate scenarios.
I mean, I have. I don't know. No. To be honest, a lot of people, like when they see the shield, the first question they ask is like, "Hey, when you first got it, did you ever hug it?" And I'm like, yeah, I did for a couple minutes. No, I love that thing. That thing is like my baby.
Now you're not the only one. Now it's Philadelphia's baby, and I think Philadelphia appreciates it.
No, I'm glad to help, especially in the times that we are in. It was just something nice I could do. I couldn't pass it up.
You're in Philadelphia lore now. As you think back on this, as you tell the story, I'm sure, for the rest of your life, how are you going to tell this thing? What's it going to mean in your life, Jeremy?
Oh, this is like I whenever someone asks me about the shield, I can be like, look, guys, like this shield was on TV. Philadelphia Union held this shield up high with pride. And actually, I'm at work today, and I was talking about it a little bit. I'm like, guys, my shield was on TV, and no one believed me. No one believed me. They're all like, oh, you're lying to me. That's not true. And I go to show them pictures, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. He's not lying anymore.
Here's my thing.
Yeah, it was great.
Now everyone has to stay together because it's harder to tell the story if it was formers and whatever. So now everyone in the line of succession has to stay as a couple so that the story makes sense. So
it was just like something that like just super out of the blue, and I was just so excited about it.
We're smiling too. Jeremy Sullivan supplies the supporters shield, at least the temporary one, for the union to make some special memories. Jeremy, thank you so much, man, for joining us, for telling us the story, for taking the time, and more importantly, for trusting someone else with your precious, with your Captain America shield.
Not a problem at all. It was such a blast to have that story behind the shield too. You know, I don't think, even if it were to break, that thing's going up on my wall, and I'm gonna have a plaque that describes everything.
Perfect. Union, you know how to get this man hooked up. Give him some season tickets.
Yeah.
Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, from Captain America to, I don't know, Captain Union, it's an AT&T 5G call to the field. It is Jim Curtin, the manager of the Supporters Shield winning Philadelphia Union. Jim, congratulations, man. It looked incredible on that field last night.
Yeah, it was a great celebration for the city of Philadelphia. Really memorable weekend for the city of Philadelphia. Again, we're really, really happy with the players' performance in the game against a tough New England opponent. You can hear maybe my dog's going crazy right now.
I was wondering. I was like, is that feedback or
Sorry,
what's the dog's name? Can we get a name on the dog?
This is Teddy. Teddy, come here. He's a
Perfect.
Bernese Mountain Dog and a poodle mix, a Burning Doodle. So I'm not the biggest dog guy, but I'm making the most of it. Back to the important stuff. No, it was an incredible atmosphere last night. Our fans really deserved it. And again, a really memorable night, and one that was a long time coming. A lot of hard work went in from this club, and again, we did it maybe in a unique way, but it was unique to the city of Philadelphia and unique to the way the Philadelphia Union set out to have their philosophy. And I'm honored to be a small part of it. And again, the players deserve all the credit for the performance they put in from, all the way back to the LAFC game that seems like literally 2 seasons ago, to the bubble, to coming out of the bubble, and just having a real consistent year. Couldn't be more proud of the guys. The few times we lost this year, we followed up with one of our best performances. So that's a sign for me of a really good team, a good blend of young players, and a really good blend of experienced guys that have stepped up in big ways.
So we're going to challenge you on what you said, because you said you were a small part. That is not true at all. But before we get there, we talked to Ray Gaddis after the Toronto FC win, and he wouldn't go there with us because it wasn't over yet. But I want to know about the emotion of being around this for so long and being a Philly guy and the weekend, what it felt like when it happened, the way it happened, the dominating win, seeing all the players celebrate, bringing Sergio Santos off in front of that crowd. What did that whole emotion for you feel like?
The emotions of the week were, I was nervous. I have to be honest. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but you see some things start to happen. The crazy PK at the end of the Miami-Toronto game. Us playing New England for, the 5th time this season, and it's not easy when you go against a team that often. I saw, Nate Silver's selection started to come a little lower and lower. And, I thought about, on election day, it looked like Nate had another one wrong, and I started to panic. You know what I mean? So then it swung back in the good direction. So, all those things went into it. We had a decent week of training, but guys were nervous, no question about it. You could feel it. The staff, the players, we tried our best to keep everybody calm, but they felt it. You know what I mean? So, the pressure of getting the first trophy is a big one. It's a real one, and it's the hardest one to get. So, I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, steady all week and it was perfect and all this stuff. It was a crazy week for a lot of reasons, not just on the soccer field, but also off it. It has to be said too. This group isn't going to be just satisfied with the supporter shield. The trophy for MLS Cup is the biggest one that our sport has for sure, and our league has. So we set ourselves up now that it has to go through Subaru Park, which has proven to be a tough place to play. And last thing I'll say is again, I have to thank our ownership for sticking with me through some difficult times, let me learn on the job. And then, also recognizing that in this league, I think we've proven this season has been real exemplary of, and the way that Chris Albright, Ernst Tanner put together this roster for me, they've made it easy. and I have a great staff as well. I'm going to be losing probably guys to other head coaching jobs because they're ready for it. Guys like Pat Noonan. Sorry, I'm starting to go on too long, but you guys get the gist of it. I'm excited for the team. I'm really happy for the group.
All right, so on this show, Jim, we have debated the Supporters Shield, the hierarchy of trophies in MLS, and also just sort of the concept of what deserves an asterisk in this, what I've been calling a FUBAR year.
Yeah.
You won this thing as a player, 2003 Chicago Fire. You've now won it as a head coach. I'm curious, how has the perception among players, among staff changed in those 17 years? And what does this trophy mean to you in this moment?
Yeah, so I think if you go, if I was to rank them in order, I think the perception would be it goes MLS Cup is number one. I think that Open Cup is 2 and Supporter Shield is 3. The difficulty to win them, I think, is actually, and I'm not saying this because we won it today, or last night, but I think the hardest one to win, where you have every team targeting you every week, and so many more variables can go into it. I think the Supporter Shield, just like how Europe is run, is the most difficult one to win. I'd say MLS Cup is the second most difficult. And the Open Cup, I love the competition. I love every part of it. But I actually would say any MLS team can get hot for 4 games. And those 4 games maybe are at home also to get to a final. I think that's probably the one that is, I don't want to say easiest, but probably the easiest, that you can kind of steal it. So, gosh, when I think back though in 2003, we had such an incredible team, but the feel around the Supporter Shield then was minimal. It wasn't there. I can't even remember us celebrating it, to be honest. I can't even remember it being presented to us. I can remember the Open Cup and the crazy party and celebration there, and I can remember certainly falling short of the treble and losing to San Jose and how much that hurt. But the Supporter Shield was just kind of, I think, new at the time, and it wasn't maybe as celebrated. I think it's grown in stature through the years here, and it is a difficult trophy to lift just because, again, so many teams are coming for you, and every week, especially down the stretch here, every point mattered so much. You get help from other teams, you get hurt from other teams, and it's difficult having that target on your back and the pressure that comes with it week in and week out.
Is there anything about this year, Jim, that would make you think that there's an asterisk on anything? I've said that people will always say 2020, we just know it's different. We don't need to have an asterisk. We just know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. Again, Alexi sent me a nice text, and he's certainly an asterisk guy for sure. But still, I get that. The reality is this year has been so unique for everybody, not just in sports, but in our world, and the different changes that we've had to deal with, the highs and lows, the need to adapt and adjust. I mean, if you just quickly through our season, I mean, I can imagine, getting shut down after the LAFC game. We had to train in Delaware at Kirkwood, which is just a local club's field, because we had to drive over the border. We trained at Kirkwood, Delaware for several weeks on just a random grass field because you couldn't train in Pennsylvania at the time. So we went over the big border across to Delaware and where they had looser rules. So again, you think of all these things, the injuries, guys getting COVID, guys having to miss games, the difficulties getting guys back into the country with visas. It was just, in some ways, more challenging, to be honest. Certainly, we wish we got to play all the Western teams. Of course, we wanted it to be as balanced as possible. Let's be honest, it's never been balanced in our league. So, I get that. I get that there should be, several more games, but I really am proud of our group. I recognize that there's going to be different things, like you, Andrew, with 2020. It's just going to naturally be something that's different. But all I know is our name will be on that thing forever, and that's permanent, and that's all that really matters to us, because we know how hard our group worked for it.
One of the big parts of what 2020's been, and maybe more than ever, at least in MLS's lifetime, is athletes and activism. And it's something that's talked about a lot. And I think Philadelphia Union is probably the leader in MLS, with what Ali Bedoya has done his whole career, Ray Gaddis and the BPC and Mark McKenzie and all your players. We've heard a lot of what people think is the negative side of that. But you guys are the champions of the league. You've been the most consistent week in and week out for the course of this wild year. And you've had players that have been active, and you're a team that's really talked and leaned into these things. What did you make of how it affected your team over the year and your ability to win the Supporters Shield?
there's no doubt that it brought us closer together as a team. There's no question about that. The demonstration that we had down in Orlando, the fact that a guy like Warren Creval is the one who designs the shirt that I actually saw running around the streets in Philly at a celebration, we'll call it,
Yes.
for the president. So you see that shirt and it kind of hits you like, all right, man, we've made an impact as a league and as a team individually. I say this with all sincerity. I'm more proud of our group for what we did off the field this year than anything that we did on the field. I think there's certainly things that are bigger than soccer. And for our guys to be, a voice that has stayed consistent, a voice that has been diligent, a voice that is educated and intelligent and willing to ask questions and learn and push. And, for our black players on our team to educate some of our foreign and international players, it's a real process, and it shows the growth of a team. When you have a bunch of Brazilians in the locker room, cheering that Trump's gone, it hits you, man. It says, man, gosh, our group is together. Our group is, and again, man, I don't want to make it all political, but I think that there's certainly some things that needed to change in this country, and it's for the better. So everything that our group has done has been to move the country forward, to have more equality. And again, our group did it in a really, really special way. And I'm incredibly proud to, be a little bit of the leadership in the group. So I can't say enough about how much our players have meant to the league, on the field, off the field, and the changes socially that have gone on in our country during this period.
You have a unique perspective on this, Jim, and on the club and on where the club has been and where it will go, because you've been at kind of every single point along the way, whether it be coaching in the academy and all the way up now to doing what you're doing. I look at the Union, and I was really happy to see you win the Supporters Shield, because I think it's a good message for the rest of the league and for fans who look at their club and say, maybe we're not spending the most all the time, but it's more about the project. Like, money can help. Money can be a tool, but money is not the only thing. You have to have a plan, and you have to have faith, and you have to have commitment, and the Union have had that. The money you guys have put into the academy, into the pipeline, into the idea of developing players, and then complementing it with now spending money on the Jeremy Monteros of the world or the Ali Bedoyas. Walk me through this project and the pride that you maybe feel having touched every part of it.
Yeah, I mean, specific to me, I think the easiest way I can say it is any young coach, whether you've played at a high level professionally or whether you've been, you maxed out at high school, I would recommend diving in to coach young players right away. It's the best way to learn. Boys, girls, that's how I started in our Union Academy. Learning from them, watching them grow and get better. There's no better way than working with kids, because they pick things up so fast, and they also give you a feeling when things aren't good, they'll let you know right away. And when your session turns into a disaster and they take over, you're put on the spot. So I think going through those times was incredibly valuable. So for any young coach, that is a incredible way to go. To get just thrown into the pro game, you miss so many important things and steps and details and what it means to really manage people. So, big picture wise with our club and our philosophy, again, you guys have probably heard a version of me say this, but, we have three pillars that whether we're winning or losing, we always want to look back on and check in at. And again, our trajectory hasn't been perfect, but we certainly over the last 5 years have gradually gotten better. And those pillars are, number one, we want to build from within. I think it's clear we want to build from the academy. But that from within is not just for players. That's also for staff members, for scouts. We want our scouts to come through the academy and work their way to the first team. We want our coaches to do a great job with our 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, and then ultimately go to the Union too, and then come to the first team. So there's a real feeling that everybody in the club has a real pathway to get better, to improve, and go to the highest level, whatever that might be. Number two is we believe 11 players, playing cohesively in a system, in a style, can beat any group of individual talent, any group of individual superstars. And I think we've proven that, and we've kind of done our talking on the field with that. Formations we can talk about, 4-4-2 diamond, we can go 4-2-3-1. We can talk about all those things, but really it comes down to now, are those 11 guys on the same page? Do they all know what principles we want to apply? And that comes in. Our biggest advantage is they're learning that at 8 and 9 years old in our academy. So by the time they get to me, I have this group of kids that will execute the game plan, and then, like you said, guys, you sprinkle in Montero, you sprinkle in a Madun Janine last year, a Bork Dochkal. We pick these guys up and add that little bit of quality. Shabilko, you know what I mean? So we have that base and we can build around it. So that cohesiveness is really incredible and important. And then the innovative side, we have to do things differently. I think we're at the forefront of sports performance, sports science. The things that go on behind the scenes, where we have scouting system that scouts not to what's good for the LA Galaxy or what's good for LAFC or Toronto, but who is a Philadelphia Union player. And we have metrics that kind of speak to that. And that's how you find a Jose Martinez. You know what I mean? A guy that anybody could have had playing in Venezuela, makes no money in our league right now, is deserving of much more for his importance. But he's one example of a guy that we mind. In the relationships that Ernst Tanner has as well with, finding a Kai Wagner, for example. So I could go on, but the innovative side of our sports performance and the way we measure just how hard our guys work in training, it's unique. And we were a little bit ahead of some other teams in that as well. So the unique innovative scouting, the innovative on the field things, the technology that we use, we have to be doing things different. We have to be willing to do things that our opponents aren't. And some of them are outside the box and they fail and they don't work out and we laugh about it, but we try different things each and every day. So those three are kind of the big things. If I was to give kind of the snapshot and I jumped on an elevator with you and I had 30 seconds to describe our club, that would be it. And again, it's going good right now. We don't have all the answers. We're not perfect and we have to still get better. But, we've shown, to your guys' point, you don't have to spend the most. You have to spend the smartest in this league.
What does it mean to you, not just as a Philly guy, but as an American soccer person? And I think all of us and everyone that really listens to the show, we've always had when will the sport matter and when will we fight against these other countries and all these things. You've been around this for a while. What does it mean that the Philadelphia Union can be this good at this high a level, this professional, building players through an academy, a lot of local players, a lot from around the United States and outside the U.S.? What does it mean to you? And do you look at other MLS teams? Do you talk to other coaches and GMs about trying to build it out?
I think, look, guys, I know everybody in the U.S. soccer culture hates the word patience, but man, we need a little bit more. I think we need to step back and look and go, you know what, we're doing a pretty decent job. I know we get frustrated sometimes if the national team loses or doesn't have success, but man, I step back and look at it now and I say, I never thought soccer would grow to the popularity that it has in this country in my lifetime. If you would have told me if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be consistently talking with Philly Sports Talk Radio and them actually mentioning the Union and talking about strategy on it, I would have said you're crazy. If you would have told me if I walk out my door in the city right now and kids would be wearing Union jerseys and Bedoya jerseys and Andre Blake jerseys, I never thought that would be the case. So it's grown a ton. You can turn on the Bundesliga and you see young Americans out there, not just on the bench of teams, but impacting games in big ways. So I really think it's going better than maybe sometimes we all think. I know we all want to win the World Cup right away, but with 2026 as kind of the benchmark in mind, I think by that time we should all want and aspire to really be, not just getting past the first round, but really competing for the World Cup, which sounds crazy, and people probably are going to laugh at me and say I'm an idiot, but I believe that that's not that crazy. In our home country, our aspirations by then should be that. So, again, to see it grow now in the country, to see the academies improve, it's been really fun to watch. And then the young players and the talent here, it's undeniable. We have great American players, and we have good American coaches too, man. I have to say, I love getting to pick the brain of Thierry Henry on the sideline sometimes and talk with, Jaap Stam, and all of a sudden, you're blown away by it. But I still have to say too, there's good American coaches out there as well. And if you look at the top 8 to 10 teams this year, a lot of them are American coaches, and a lot of them that are doing a great job have been in MLS for a long time, like Oscar Pereira or Gio Savarese. So there's so many great coaches and so many different styles that make our league so special and unique.
All right, Jim, don't bat this away right now, all right? You're talking about aspiration, you're talking about American coaches, and I'm thinking about a buddy of yours we just talked to, Jesse Marsh, and he's about the coach in the Champions League, one of your players, and he made a move, and you're a Philly guy forever, and you've come up through the Union. But do you have any thoughts in your mind at any point where you're like, I know this is maybe even like the first year we've talked to you where it's just been like, Jim Curtin there's no question marks at all. Do you ever think about, okay, what might be the next step for me? Or is it you're so focused on the Union that never even enters your mind?
No, I'd be lying. I think everybody wants to test themselves at the highest level. Jesse is a pioneer for our league. I speak with him quite often, and what he's doing over there is he's kind of blazing a new path, and he's doing it with such, and it's so impressive what he's doing and leading a group. And you watch his team play, and they play the right way, and they've been on the rough end of a lot of calls and a lot of difficult things in the Champions League. But he's a special human being first and foremost. He's intelligent. He knows the game so well. He's so passionate about it. But it's not easy what he's doing over there, and it's really, he's a guy that I carpool with in Chicago, and I wanted to be like. I aspired to be as good as him. He wanted to win every day in training. I was lucky to be around him and Chris Armas, and they put their arm around me, and I learned so much from them. The next logical step would be to try to follow in his footsteps. I also recognize just how hard it is to get a job in Europe for sure. But I'd be lying if I said I don't want to try to test myself at the highest level. I want to win another trophy here in Philadelphia for sure. I want to try to keep this environment going where we're turning out good young American players. And look, if I could coach at the Union for the rest of my life, I'd be incredibly happy and honored to do that. But certainly, I also would love to test myself against, some of the best in Europe as well, just to see Jesse work and be around him for several days. And, I don't want to get him in trouble here, but to have a meal with him at Salzburg, and then, all of a sudden we find ourselves in the hotel lobby at 2 a.m, and he's giving me tips on how the outside of the 4-4-2 diamond, how you can get your wide players in certain areas on a napkin. And, that's what this is about, man. It's about the relationships and friendships that you have over the years, and, just sharing information and picking each other's brains. So he's a guy that I've learned a ton from and do aspire to follow in his footsteps in some way.
Going to be fun to watch him and Brendan too. That's got to be
it's going to be incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, Brendan will go to another level.
Let's I was going to end on Union and MLS Cup, but now you just said Brendan will go to another level. So now I need to hear more about what that next level is.
So Brendan, talent-wise, again, I still get angry with him because even last night he gets himself in 3 or 4 spots where he needs to put the ball in the back of the net, or at least hit the target, or at least make a better final pass. So I'm going to be hard on him till his last game with me and his last minute with me, and he's going to be angry, but I don't care because I see so much ability and talent. Certainly when you look at the fit, though, for Salzburg, the amount that Brendan runs and works on the defensive side of the ball is incredible. So you put some of the talent that Jesse has already at Salzburg and the forwards that'll run in behind, Brendan will be able to take his game to another level. He'll stand out even more because the quality that they have there at Salzburg, and just the players that come in and can change a game, it makes it easy. And most importantly, the culture that Jesse has there, I felt it for days. Even when I was there when Haaland was just visiting all these clubs, and sometimes at clubs it gets selfish, and I want to be the one that goes to the next big club, or then be the next one that gets sold for X millions of dollars and makes it big. But the culture there is they all share in the success. And I know that sounds simple, but it's really hard with professionals. There's no jealousy. They see the environment that he has there as one that just has players happy when another one moves on. And that's what we're trying to create in Philadelphia as well. It's no secret Mark McKenzie's going to be going soon. The kid is unbelievable, and he's almost moved past the level of our league for his age. You know what I mean? So, trying to create that environment is something that we're working on. And Brendan certainly is going to one where he's going to thrive. I really feel that way. He can make a big impact in Europe, which is, gosh, to think of that now when I had him at 8 or 9 is a crazy thing. And talking with his dad, and now his younger brother that's coming in. Wait till you see him, guys. Paxton is nasty. So it's going to be fun to work with him as well. But Brendan has an incredible future.
What a dream that is, to talk about having a guy at 8 or 9 and now to be seeing him go to the Champions League. That's perfection. That's what gets us all going and why we love this so much. Let's end it here. So you're 9-0 at Subaru Park. You will not leave Subaru Park as long as you continue to stay unbeaten at Subaru Park. You're going to sleep in your beds. You're going to play by the banks of the Delaware. You got MLS Cup potentially it's a ways away in your sights. Should the Union be the favorites? Do you feel like favorites? Do you want that sort of mantle?
We don't like to be the favorites, to be honest. We prefer the punch above our weight, Philly mentality. I don't want to say Rocky. Too many people say Rocky. But no, we have an underdog mentality. Look, though, the reality is it does come through our stadium now. But, guys, I mean, I'm so respectful and humbled in this league to know that, you look at the potential matchup in the first round and you can be staring Higuain and Pizarro in the face. And look, in a one-off game, that's about as difficult as it gets. They have so many special players. The kid Morgan as well that nobody talks about is unbelievable. What a player and what a season he's had. So, it could be the Revolution again, who's a scary group and really talented. Montreal with Thierry Henry. I think that's the three possible matchups that we could face. So, right away, there's no easy games in our league. And if you're not ready in this league, you get punched in the face and you don't get up. So it's a real challenge. It's what makes the playoffs so special. But again, it's going to be a really exciting time. And I'm really happy and proud of the league, man, to see it again grow and be able to even have this season take place through so much adversity and be kind of the leaders of all the major sports and get in the bubble right and really pushing things forward. It was a special year for the league in a lot of ways. I know that financially, I'm sure everybody's taking big hits right now, but for them to do the job that they did, it makes me really proud to be part of the league. And it's such a unique league in that every week now, when you go and play a team, you have a coach that could be from, a World Cup winner from all over the world. There's so many different styles of play, and you're learning each and every week, and you're testing your group against so many good players and different sets of talent. So really proud of the league for this season. And again, I think the playoffs are going to be really special.
Proud of everybody but himself. Nah, messing with you, Jim. Messing with you. Congratulations. We're really happy to see Union get over this hump and get that silverware, and now it comes down to the playoffs. Round 1 for the Union between the 21st and 24th. We shall find out the opponent and the date. We know it's at Subaru Park. Jim Curtin, head coach of the Supporters Shield winning Philadelphia Union. Congratulations, Jim.
That sounds good, guys. That sounds good. Thanks so much for having me. It's always fun, man. Thank you.
Oh, Jim, you glorious, glorious soccer soul, man. It's wonderful to have him on this show. He's unfiltered. He's honest. He doesn't dodge questions. Doyle, what did you take away from that, listening back behind the scenes?
I mean, he really did touch on everything. And I think the honesty that you get out of Jim Curtin is one of the reasons why we love to have him on this show. And, it makes the Union easier to root for. But I think big picture, what Philly did in terms of building a winning team by really investing in and believing in their academy and bringing through players, not just the headliners like Aronson and McKenzie, but Anthony Fontana was awesome this year. Matt Freese, getting the start, and as Kalen said at the top of the show, having a couple of big moments and really coming through. Matt Real gave them big minutes this year. This, I'm hoping it helps change the way that MLS teams think about building their, other MLS teams think about building their own rosters, because we've seen teams go out and spend millions and sometimes even tens of millions of dollars of prospects from elsewhere. Some of them hit. Most of them do not. I am of the belief that there is elite talent here in the U.S. and Canada that is not getting the type of opportunity that they should be getting. And I think that Philly doing what they've done this year, and then we're also seeing it, with Toronto, who finished second in the Supporter Shield, the Io Ekinola, the Jaden Nelson, the central midfield kid who's been playing the last couple of games, whose name is Priso. These kids starting to make a real dent for the best teams in the league. I think I'm hoping that 2020 as a season and Philadelphia being the best team during this season, I hope that this ends up being the inflection point and we really start seeing teams invest in what's happening locally, because there's good soccer everywhere in the U.S. and Canada. We just have to be willing to find it and develop it and get it on the field.
The two things I took away from Jim was one, his sort of assessment of the state of American soccer, North American soccer, I thought was spot on. And Jim is he's a real Philly dude. Like, he loves every sport, those other leagues, and like, he is as diehard, like, in the weeds of MLS culture, because he's sort of born and bred in it, coming out of Villanova, but he's also just like a big sports fan. And so I think he was really right on. And like, even when I watch him courtside at a 76ers game or whatever, like, it's pretty cool. And I think it was a really positive way to look at things. And then the other part that was the surprise to me a little bit, but not really, was just his ambition to go abroad. And I think that, like, that's the type of manager that I think players want to play for, because it means that, I mean, I remember back when I played with, who was it? De Los Cobos, or no, sorry, not De Los Cobos. Jesus, I was thinking I wanted out then. Everybody wanted out. But Juan Carlos Osorio stepped in the first day. I remember saying, like, you should want more. You should want to go abroad. You should want to go. And that was, Jim was in the locker room at that time. And I think, like, that was so bizarre for me, because I think everybody at MLS in that point was like, it was more like, you're here, you can't go anywhere. That's it. And Philly, really, if you look at it, have shifted it, where even in the course of that interview, he's like, Mark McKenzie's almost too good to be here at this age and his thing. And he's like, Brendan Aronson's got a whole nother level that he's going to go to. And he's like, oh, and Pat Noonan, he might be gone as a head coach. And like, Philly has defined success in some ways by, people's individual success. And they've tied the individual player success, or coaches, or personnel, to potentially losing them and leaving. And I think that is such a really cool thing. And I think that's partly why you're getting that kind of collective spirit and buy-in from an individual level, because that's very new from, like, the league that I knew, at least. And I think the way a lot of clubs still operate.
And I would just add to that and say, that's what's so exciting for me. We talk about players all the time, but the infrastructure of youth teams, large academies, and USL is, you've got more coaching opportunities for people to learn and grow. And as he said, scouting and all those things, that's an opportunity for those people to grow, get to the MLS level. And then how do you build a network? Okay, so maybe you don't have the international experience because you're having American homegrown coaches. Well, if those scouts and coaches go work in Europe and South America and Mexico, then you have a network that you've built where you can trust people. And Jesse Marsh can call you and say, what do you think of Brendan Aronson? And on the flip side, I thought it was really great how he talked about Philly players, that they don't look for players who will be good at the Galaxy or Atlanta United or Toronto. And when I think of their USL group, it's not just the young Americans, it's Mbaizo and Corey Burke, who they brought in to see how they would work. And then they were both factors for them. So they use all of it to put together the roster that they've built. And that's the part where on January 5th of 2020, you could look and say, this roster isn't as good as the other ones in the Eastern Conference. And now you look at it and you say, it all fits together the way it has to. All of these players play a role for this team. Would Sergio Santos be as good at Portland or Minnesota? I don't know, but it works for Philly. And they have the opportunity with that second team and with the trust in their coaches to bring those guys in and give them their chance.
This has felt like a Philadelphia Union podcast for a couple weeks now. We've had a lot of guests. Charlie Davies has not stopped saying the name Anthony Fontana for like a month and a half now. I'm surprised he doesn't just pop in and yell it out. But it is special to see a club rewarded in this way. It is inspirational to see the failures that they had and sort of the missteps and honestly the drama. Like there was a lot of drama in the head coaching, in the management ranks, in front office for the first 5-6 years of this club's history. And they settled it all down. They figured it out, and you have to give props to an ownership group that they've taken stick at time because of their unwillingness to maybe spend at some of the other levels that we see in MLS. And we were told, hey, have faith. And I don't want to say the phrase, but I will trust the process. And in trusting that, they got there. It took 7 years from when they really started investing in this academy, from when they really said, hey, this is our path. And now YSC, I think, is one of those things that not just other MLS clubs should look around and say, hey, that's really working. But it's bigger than that. Like, there are some things that they're doing that clubs outside of this country where we all want to put on a pedestal as far as youth development go can say, that's something we can borrow. It's working. Now, is there a lot of work to do? Yes, they've just sold their first player. But they have the beginnings of something that not only will change their club and is changing their club, but hopefully will change this league as well. So it's super special.
And it's
Jim Curtin mentioned. Oh, sorry, Joe. I was just going to say real quick. Jim Curtin mentioned innovation. Here's a small example. I think they're the first academy in North America to have a full-time psychologist and a sports psychologist. And I know because I've been in presentations that she's made that Liga MX teams and Argentine and Brazilian teams are coming to hear her speak about how they can improve their young players. That's an example. Jim Curtin gave us a couple others in scouting of how they've done things differently.
Yeah, and they get, as you said, Weeby, they've just sold their first player. They're going to sell Mark McKenzie soon, probably to another Champions League team. They're going to make $15 million between those two players. They also sold Austin Trusty within the league. They got $750,000 allocation money for him. They have guys coming up who might be better than this first generation. There is so the investment is going to pay off tenfold, maybe even more than that, not just in terms of money, but in terms of what we saw yesterday, which is them raising a trophy and getting exactly what they've earned.
By the way, we'll move on right now, but the last thing I'll leave everybody out there with, I thought the most special photo from the celebrations last night at Subaru Park were all of the homegrowns together in one frame. And not just guys that, would have watched it from the sideline or like, hey, I grew up a Union fan and now I'm part of this team. Guys that were integral parts of this trophy being delivered to Philadelphia after a decade. I mean, that's tingly stuff.
An extra time dream.
God. Not just play your kids, reward your kids, baby. Lift a trophy with your kids. Wow. That's what's up. We've been preaching the gospel, and now the sermon has landed. So extremely excited for the Philadelphia Union, but they got a lot of work to do still because they could go for the double at this point too. The Audi 2020 MLS Cup playoffs, the schedule is out. We know what it is, November 20th. The Eastern Conference play-in games go down. You got Nashville, Miami. The expansion bowl. This is exactly what I was dreaming of in the play-in round, and then New England, Montreal.
Now they have to be rivals forever, even if their fans don't think they are. You're welcome.
It's manufactured. It's been ordained. So that's the play-in round, and then, of course, we'll figure out what the matchups are, as Jim said. They will not play Nashville because Nashville will be the highest seed. So if Nashville were to go through, you would see them then take on Toronto FC. The other matchups in the East, Orlando, NYCFC, Expansion Bowl Part 2. Let's go. Rivals forever. Columbus Red Bulls, which has some good playoff history to it. And then over in the Western Conference, Sporting Kansas City is the 1 seed. They won in a blizzard at Real Salt Lake. They're going to take on San Jose. That's interesting. Minnesota got a home game. They're 4. They will host the Colorado Rapids. Portland Timbers are the 3 seed. They've got FC Dallas. And then Seattle LAFC. Seattle hosting the Better Than Bob Bowl. It's just, it was perfect. LAFC somehow dropping down to 7th. Portland with a late goal. Doyle, I'll just throw it to you. And I want to ask, outside of the Union, which was the obvious kind of headline story from Decision Day, what really captured you? What game, what moment, what sort of consequence were you at the end of it? We're just like, oh my God, what? And you can't say the fire, blowing it, just lighting a firecracker in their hand, looking at it, and then letting it explode.
Kalen and I, on the pregame show yesterday, we literally described how this game was going to go for the Chicago Fire. We said they're going to play great soccer, maybe score a couple goals, and then it's just a question of who's going to make the catastrophic error. And that was...
By the way, he takes great pleasure in this. This was painful for me. I just wanted to, as a disclaimer.
No, it pained me.
How excited he is!
It pained me too because I like watching the Fire. I think they play really good and fun soccer. The playoffs would have been better for having them in there, especially because of the Team Chaos guy. But no, the thing that actually got me was that goal by the Timbers after 90 minutes of being on the back foot the entire time. I think LAFC hit the crossbar or the post 4 times in that game. Rossi had 2, Vela had 1. I think there was 1 more as well. And it's the 92nd minute or whatever. And, this beautiful sequence of play. And Rodriguez has a look from 12 yards. And Steve Clark makes a great save. And then as soon as that break started, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be 1-1, and we're going to get LAFC Seattle in the first round. Because as soon as that counterattack started, Portland were like, we've done this a million times. We know exactly how this is going to end. And LAFC always take these chances with their fullbacks. They're always pushed up a little bit. If you get that first pass out of the attacking or the defensive third, then you're off to the races. And 1-1 is how it ended. And that's how we get LAFC versus Seattle in round 1. And it wasn't like an, oh my God, what moment? It was like, oh my God, that. Like the most predictable thing in the world.
I think it's awesome too because now Brian Schmetzer is, I mean, he's politicking right now for a new contract. You got Bob coming in trying to prove some people wrong.
This is the ultimate way to appeal to the LA Galaxy, right, Kalen? Is to beat LAFC and then move on, right? Am I wrong? Am I right there?
Now you're onto something. Now you're onto something.
The craziest moment for me yesterday was the Kyoto goal for Montreal, and I can't help but like. Decision day was awesome, but it just hurt a little bit because, you know, we're all doing this sort of socially distanced version of it. And I just remember like that would have been a moment where we would all be in the studio, like going nuts, right? Like DC, Montreal, both somehow have a chance at the playoffs. And then like Kyoto just comes in late on. And I mean, that was pretty awesome. Nashville, I think one of the more surprising, like, or not surprising, but impressive going down to Orlando, to win. I think that they're of the expansion teams. I think they're going to be big favorites against the Miami match. And then, I think, for Seattle, just to like go back to that it was like, all right, it's that time again. And you could just see the way they just like clicked into things. And for LAFC, I'd be worried for them because
really?
Yes, because Carlos Vela, I think they did not want Seattle right away.
No, nobody wants Seattle right away.
No, but especially LAFC right now because they're trying to get healthy and they're trying to get fit. And Vela, he got through the match, he got a goal, yes, but he doesn't look at his top form yet. He needs matches, and I wonder if they could potentially
use him in the Ilsinho role.
No, but
Carlos Vela Ilsinho, 35 minutes of 110% Vela.
I don't know, Karen.
I don't know. That's a tough piece to leave on the bench. No, Ilsinho's nice, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go there. But
I watched 30 minutes of that, and I said, Carlos Vela was balling in that first half. Had one goal.
Carlos Vela,
another. But
I've said this before. Carlos Vela, a step off is still a step ahead. He's still better than almost every defender he's going to go up against. I'm not saying that he's not able to really hurt people. I'm just saying he's just not. Normally he would have that ended a 1-1 game. Normally Carlos Vela, prime Vela, it's like he's probably got 2 or 3 in a match like that. And then you think of Mark Anthony Kaye. Where's he at physically? Then you look at in the back line with Blackman. He played in the middle, but usually plays on the right, and they want to bring Segura in. So I don't know if they're going to try and simulate maybe a match, or they've got some time, but it's hard to replicate match fitness. And when you look at what Seattle did on the other side, they look ready. They look ready to go right now.
Last year, I think NYCFC flew Chicago Fire in for a scrimmage right before their first round of the playoffs. So Chicago's available.
It's about as close as they get to the playoffs these days. Just out here playing practice games.
Let me just add this one, which was not as relevant to the other one, but FC Dallas played Minnesota off the field, still trailed 1-0. Then Jan Gregus had someone step on his head, was pouring blood, and then Reynoso scored his first MLS goal. This game was pure chaos from start to finish, which I was here for.
Yeah, I like the feeling from Decision Day, as you said, Kalen. Like, it really made me nostalgic. It really made me just kind of like both jacked but also extremely sad, because normally we would be in situations where people are jumping over couches and like actually tearing their hair out, and it's just so communal, and we're missing a little bit of that this year. But I really do look at this Audi 2020 MLS Cup playoff bracket and think this is going to be pure entertainment value. Like, the way this has all come together, it's not the same as it was before. I know we had single elimination last year, but to almost have a feeling of, what was it? 18 teams, you throw them in a bracket and you build it down. It's almost like that final 16 quarterfinals on from the World Cup, where you're just like, anything can happen. We don't know what's going to happen, but you cannot tear your eyes away. We will fully preview this. We have about 11 days to do so. So stick around for that. I do want to run real quick through some of the awards, because in about an hour and 10 minutes, it's 1:49 p.m. Eastern, those are due. And I don't think anybody knows who the tried and true MVP of this year is. Who is the Landon Donovan MVP? Have you guys filed your votes? Who did you end up on?
Who wants to go first?
I was full Alejandro Pozuelo. I have not yet submitted my votes because I have all these waves of uncertainty now because Pozuelo and Toronto FC kind of fell off a little bit. But then there's no obvious secondary. It's not like you just plug in Carlos Vela or Joseph Martinez or Miguel Almiron or whoever, even a Zlatan you would just throw in there right now. It's this year, it's all by committee, and I don't really believe that there is one standalone.
I think we all agree with that. That's why none of us want to say.
I know.
No, I think Pozuelo is a standalone. I think in terms of what he's done, in terms of his productivity, box score numbers, but also his usage rate. Everything that Toronto does goes through him, and it had to be even more so this year because Chelsea Altidore got hurt, Pablo Piatti got hurt, Michael Bradley got hurt. Everything around him was in constant flux, and he kept this team on his shoulders for weeks and eventually months at a time. And he did it with a level of style that, I mean, he had one of the great number 10 seasons that this league has ever seen. And Toronto are the lead for this league. They finished second. This is not like, oh man, he carried them to respect. This is not like the Zlatan 2018 case. This is the case that Miguel Almiron had in 2018, whereas like he was, an essential piece of the second best team in the league. Or this is like the Ladero case, except with better box score numbers. And that's the thing. Ladero is arguably the MVP every year, because the sounder system is Nico Ladero. And the same thing kind of happened with Toronto, with Pozuelo this year. And he actually does the same amount of work in terms of getting on the ball, in terms of defensive involvement, and in terms of the amount of ground he covers. Duke runs the entire time. This is not like a throwback Carlos Valderrama type of number 10. He is a modern playmaker. So I think, look, there have been a lot of great players who've had great seasons this year. I think Pozuelo's been the best of them, and the fact that he's been at that level for the second best team in the league, he's a clear favorite. He should win.
Anybody else vote for somebody other than Alejandro Pozuelo?
Nope.
No. That feels like maybe a trend. Maybe like this is Pozuelo's year to get that Landon Donovan MVP. I'm going to go quickly around. Dave, who'd you vote for Defender of the Year? Who'd you end on?
Jonathan Mensah.
Really?
Had to do it. I already put my name in. No, I think, yes, I voted for him. And I think I've made this argument many times. One, the team's results dropped. They also were missing Nagbe and Zelarian for most of that stretch, and Zardes as well. Two, he played every single minute, and he does so much more with the ball than the other guys in this argument. And three, really? With the team style.
More than like for Doyle's Anton Tinnerholm, more than who I would say would be Walker Zimmerman.
Anton Tinnerholm is not more important. Whatever. Then you're getting in a fullback center back argument, which we can have and is fine. Anton Tinnerholm's not going to win the award, and that's unfortunate.
We can have that argument if it's presented by or driven by Continental.
Exactly.
This is the place.
Continental Tire Award. By the way, we are doing the nominations right now for the Continental Awards. It's on the Twitter, so go nominate the people you think deserve those spots. D-mid, outside back, front office,
let's
whatever.
say this. As a fullback, as good a season as he's had, his team finished 5th in the Eastern Conference. That's the effect he could have on his team's performances. So that's where I landed.
I went Walker Zimmerman. Neither here nor there. Goalkeeper of the year, Kalen. Who should it be?
Blake. Yeah, I picked Blake. I think Supporter Shield winner. I always say a goalkeeper is like the goalkeepers that good goalkeepers make the saves that they're supposed to. Great ones make the ones that make a few that you're not supposed to. And I feel like for Blake, a lot of times he's sort of always consistently made the ones you're not supposed to. But then maybe sometimes had errors or missed some ones that he probably should make. And this year, I think he put it together as far as that consistency, that run of form, and for the best team. So I think Blake, this is his year for sure, and he deserves it. I mean, he's right near or right around the top statistically, and then you factor in the team's success. I do worry a little bit about him jumping back in during the playoffs. To me, he seems a little bit of like a rhythm goalkeeper, where he gets in form and he gets going, and he's had some struggles in the past. When you go back to that match with the Red Bulls specifically last year, as far as decision making coming off the line, and that's one of those things that on crosses, and that's one of those things that when you don't have that timing, you don't have that rhythm, is just something to watch. But I think as far as the regular season goes, he's been the best.
All right, I'm with you. I know that Doyle's driving the Matt Turner train right now. We'll see where that ends up as well. AT&T Young Player of the Year, Doyle. Does it just go to the Golden Boot winner presented by Audi, which is Diego Rossi, or is there anybody else who can make an argument to push their way in?
I don't think there's any other argument. Diego Rossi was awesome this year, while, again, dealing with injuries, lack of Carlos Vela, lack of Atuesta behind him, Latif Blessing all over the place. Bradley Wright Phillips has been great, but not always available. Rossi has been awesome throughout all of that. The only other argument you could maybe make is Mark McKenzie, because the best center back on the best team in the league, and I had McKenzie number 2 on my list, but it should absolutely go to Rossi.
I have the comeback player of the year going to a trifecta of Weeby favorites. Of course, Milton Valenzuela is a finalist. Gotta be. Hot boy Kevin Molino's here. BWP is there as well, and it goes to Kevin Molino in my mind and in my heart. I mean, the guy has just suffered through so many catastrophic injuries.
Could we just make the point that comeback player of the year should actually be coming back from an injury? It should not be coming back from having been played at right back, or from having, been like, it has to be from some sort of injury. So I'm with you, Weeby. It's Kevin Molino.
Just say it the way Ben Bear would say it. It can't be coming back from being trash.
Yeah, correct.
Can I throw in, and I know this has a personal note, I'm friends with him, I apologize, but you have to bring it up. Florian Velo came back from 2 ACL tears. He tore his ACL. He came back, and 2 games later, he tore his ACL, and he was arguably the best player on the Red Bulls for 75 to 85% of this year, and they're 7th in the Eastern Conference, so he has to get mentioned.
I think it's a great call out. I think Winston Reed deserves one too. I'm not saying his performances necessitate it, but the man had not played soccer basically in like 3 years, I think it was. So for him to even come back and be productive, he has been playing minutes for the top team in the West on record. That's really impressive as well. Anybody have any thoughts on the Siggy Schmidt Coach of the Year as it pertains to, let's say, an Oscar Pereja case where you take a team that had never done something? I guess that's Jim Curtin's case too. I don't know. They go from not so good to very good versus Jim Curtin, or like otherwise, who takes a team and wins a trophy. Is this Jim's? Is this his award, the Siggy Schmidt Coach of the Year, or does Oscar have a chance?
Oscar has a chance. And I was going to vote Oscar, but then on the post-game show last night, I thought Kalen made a really good point about Jim kind of deserving it, because it's just hard to get a team to buy in year after year after year with going stale. And in fact, opposite of going stale, it's actually gotten more vibrant and dynamic as he's done it. And it's everyone from the grizzled vets down to the 30th man on the roster. When you do that on top of winning the Shield, and by the way, winning the Shield with over 2 points per game, which is not something that happened all the time in MLS. If you go over 2 points per game, you are legit. So I did change my vote at the last minute from Oscar to Jim.
I think it's fair. I'm going Jim as well. I'd already decided that. Props to Oscar. They've almost got a trophy. Maybe they'll get another one in the playoffs. Got some nice seating for them as well, though a tough loss for them against Nashville on decision day. All right, let's go to the mailbag. Before that, should we talk U.S. national team? And we're trying to figure out how to do the Thursday show after the game. What do you guys want to talk about with the national team? I feel like we've already done this sort of like, hey, we're excited to see them back. This ought to be fun. Like I'm not that interested right now in talking lineups or formations or whatever it's going to be. I feel like that's just sort of that's details. The bigger picture is more important.
Yeah, it almost feels like the January camp, which is exclusively for MLS players at this point. The January camp, except for Euros, because we're going to see so many players in this camp and hopefully in the games who we've never seen before for the U.S. national team and who aren't regular parts of these camps. So I'm excited about it from that perspective. I also have, I don't want to say no idea of what to expect, but I'm not sure of what to expect because Christian Pulisic probably shouldn't play. Tyler Adams been fighting off injuries. He probably shouldn't play either, but I really want to see him as a number 6. He's been playing that role more for Leipzig, and I think long-term, if he could play there, then that opens up the chance to do some other stuff for Greg Berhalter. So it's exciting, but it's also like way more unknowns than we usually have for this team during a regular international date.
All right, we'll look forward to that one. We'll try to figure out how to get you the recap on Thursday. We're also planning to talk to Peter Vermees of the top-seeded Sporting Kansas City. So TBD on those. Let's get to the mailbag, 401-206-0MLS, Extratime at MLSsoccer.com. Take us through, Dave. What do we got?
Let's start with Zach from Minneapolis, who says, this will get buried, but Reynoso with a full season could break the assist record. Finally got his goal, but 7 assists in 820 minutes on a new team with a rotating forward is nothing to scoff at.
So first of all, I don't believe in Minnesota. I think they're destined to fail in the playoffs. Certainly nobody in the MLS world would ever put any stock into what they've accomplished or done. How they've improved over the course of 3 years or whatever it has been is mostly a fluke. And I'm just going to, excuse me, I'm joking now. I couldn't even keep it going. I couldn't even keep it going. I like choked out. I just
with the Darth Vader.
I know. I just got like, what happened? I just got choked out by my own words. That's mostly me joking. But I think that team's got some question marks, and it's a lot of teams in the playoffs too. And we were planning on talking about this and just never got to it. But this international break is going to push up right on the Audi MLS Cup playoffs, and because of COVID and because of the quarantine rules that we have, there are possibilities that, let's say, like a Robin Lode, Jan Gregus, Kai Kamara, Roman Metnair would not be able to play in that first game for Minnesota United, and those would all be massive, massive blows, and that's just one club. I mean, that goes up and down these playoff teams. So I think what Minnesota has done and the consistency they've found, whether or not Adrian Heath and Extratime always see eye to eye, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but they found something that they absolutely did not have at the beginning of their lifespan in MLS. They were bad, and their signings were bad. And so their trajectory, I think, is something that they should be giving credit for, and I'm choking again now. So if somebody wants to just...
Speaking of giving credit, I should win some type of award for actually correctly predicting where Minnesota United was going to finish and where Adrian Heath was going to fit. Because he's like, I picked them fourth, and they landed right at fourth. What do I win? I feel like I'm the only one that got it right, and it's really hard. Some people overestimated them. I think Charlie picked them third. He went a little too. Adrian got in his head, I think, maybe, and was like, he had to.
They were sipping that Pinot together because Charlie and Adrian, they're red wine guys.
Dude, those two guys.
Actually, Adrian's more of a white wine guy. Of wine. Just to correct you on that, Adrian's a white wine guy. It's the Adrian Heath properly rated award driven by Continental.
Thank you.
Exactly. That's straight to you, Kaylin. That is yours. We'll put that in your trophy case. What else we got, Dave?
Andrew in Kentucky says, as Nate Bucati says, and feel better, Nate. He puts it, in England they ask, can you do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke? Maybe here in MLS, it should be, can you do it on a snowy night in Sandy, Utah? A truly clutch and gritty performance by Casey. Also, shout out to Roberto Puncec for being the dark horse for MVP for Sporting KC, playing all 90 minutes in each of SKC's shutout. Regardless of his partner, he deserves a ton of credit for what he accomplished this year.
He does. And to go
number one team in the West.
I mean, number one team in the West. I still have questions about them defensively, but they have found a ton of answers in attack. And if you want to go back to the previous question, when you talk about prorated assists per 90 minutes, and maybe Bebelo Reynoso could have 30 assists in a season, I didn't point out that Eric Hurtado has like 5 goals in 350 minutes this year, which is like on a per 90 basis. That's better than what Carlos Vela did last year. So maybe give them muscle.
Oh boy.
No, the goals per game thing has gone
Carlos Vela is
he's
just trying to get on Hurtado Island this year. He's just trying to get back to that form. Can I ask one question of you guys? And I had like the beginnings of a very Twitter argument with Richard Farley, who does great work for the Timbers and has been in this soccer game for a long time, about how you voted for awards, but also how you judge teams. Because Sporting Kansas City on this show we've kind of like poo-pooed their success, and a lot of that has to do with schedule. How did you guys think about strength of schedule in your awards, like who you voted for, and how do you think about it this year in terms of judging teams? And I'll just kind of tell you how I thought about it in awards. I'm curious where you end up. Players can't affect who they play. They can't affect that this year is all like mixed up and just doesn't make sense. So I felt it was unfair to players in the award process when they did things, survived, thrived, found a way through a pandemic to be top level, no matter who they were playing. I found it unfair to punish them by saying, oh, well, you didn't play Seattle and Portland and San Jose and this, that, and the other all year. If you were going to do that, you have to go through every single game and say, who did they rotate? Who's dealing with what? Is there a COVID outbreak? What was the travel like that day? Like, there are just too many variables. I felt it unfair to punish teams, and sometimes I feel like Sporting KC is being punished because they didn't play the hardest schedule.
I don't think punished. But I think that
doubted a little bit.
They got the top seed.
Doubted a little bit. This is a narrative discussion. We're not telling you.
They're doubted a little bit because they were a terrible defensive team last year. They had moments this year when they were absolutely terrible. I mean, they made the Dynamo look like prime Real Madrid. They've had to. They don't have a set back four. Ilie Sanchez missed a chunk of the season, as did Roger Espinoza. Matt Beasler and Graham Zusi got old. So there's just so many questions, and it feels unsettled for this team. Whereas if you compare them to a Seattle or even a Portland who've had injury issues of their own, or a Philly or a Toronto, despite their injury issues, those teams just feel I guess more settled. They feel like you know what you're getting from them and who it's going to come from. And there's still questions as to that with Sporting. But I don't think anybody is like, oh, they have no chance.
What about the idea of schedule and awards, though?
So I would say this, Weeby. I don't think it's punished, but the reality of it is Diego Chara and Nico Lodero both deserve to be best 11 players. And there are other players on that list.
I have them there.
Fair. What I'm just saying is there are multiple players at every position who deserve it. And the knock is not against the people for not getting it. I think it's that in some way you have to weigh all this up, and it has to be thought of and mentioned that what a player did when other players were injured on their team or what a player did against the competition that they played against. Because Zardes and Ruidiaz both deserve to be on the best 11. Mueller, Morris, Rossi, all of them deserve to be there. There's too many players that deserve to be in it, and you're trying to find differences between them. And in a year in which a lot of them never played each other or didn't have the same games at that level, this was a way to me, and it wasn't my number one thing that I went with, to say, yeah, this player or this team was challenged in a different way for a larger stretch. I mean, the Toronto FC and Columbus and Philly, when they were all playing each other and around robin and all sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference, and you look at SKC and they're playing Chicago and Dallas and Nashville, like that wasn't the same competition, and it wasn't the same level of energy in those games.
That's fair. I considered it all. Let's do one more and then let's get out of here.
You have been heard, fans. Judson will be in the Defensive Midfielder of the Year awards. You have been heard. I will go with one specific email, and then we can get out of here. Andy from San Francisco Bay Area. That's a cool nickname, Kalen, for you to pick. Please consider Judson of the San Jose Earthquakes for D-Mid of the Year. Yes, those SJ Quakes. I can hear the criticism of this selection now. The Quakes regularly ship 4+ goals, so how can the best D-Mid be on their team? Stop looking at the stats and watch the game. The D-Mid of the Year is an individual effort, not an MVP award. Judson is a nonstop fighter with blazing pace and is sometimes the only thing holding back the tide. He leads the MLS in tackles. He covers so much ground. Check out the heat maps, and disrupts passing lanes, plus regularly takes ill-advised 30+ yard shots and skies it nearly every time, like all good D-mids should do.
By the way, I think that if you're not watching this regularly on the MLS Twitter channel, and I don't know where else it goes, Doyle, but the top tiers you do are really good. And I thought the one that you did on Judson and his effect was in particular a good piece of necessary content to give that man a little bit of love. But make sure.
I feel for the guy. Imagine being a D-mid in that system. It's just literally just chaos happening all around you. That's like the worst nightmare.
I need 6 Judsons to win in the West, I think. But, they're fun.
That's our final note here. We'll have more coverage, more previews of the Audi MLS Cup playoffs coming up for you. Congratulations to the Union. Go to @ExtraTime on Twitter. You have to nominate players or front office folks or whatever it is for whatever category for the Continental Awards. We're putting those together. We will put those to a vote, and then we will figure out and crown those. We're also working on getting those, getting the winners something. In the past, it's just been like in our imagination. But I want to create an actual award. I want to hand somebody the Chris Armas Defensive Player of the Year award. I think that would be special. So if you think somebody deserves it, whether it's Jose Martinez or Judson, whoever else, just spam us. Just get in that thread. It's a thread of all the awards you can nominate. Get in there and just yell at us. Big thanks, though, before we get out of here, to Jeremy Sullivan, now an MLS legend, and, of course, to Jim Curtin. And thanks to you guys. We'll see everybody on Thursday. Enjoy your week.
We all dream of a team of Jeremy Sullivan, a team of Jeremy Sullivan.
What else does that guy have in his closet?
Number one.